Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Jnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Caitanya Mano मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपां साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna. So good morning to everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Today we're reading from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. We're reading from chapter number 25 entitled The Glories of Devotional Service. And today we're reading from text number 39 to 40. Imam lokam tathevamum atmanam ubhayayinam atmanam manuye cheha yeraya pashavo griha visrijya sarvananyamscha mamevam vishvato mukham bhajantyananyaya bhaktya tan mrityorati paraye imam lokam tathevamum atmanam upayayinam atmanam manuye cheha yeraya pashavo griha visrijya sarvanam yascha mamevam vishvato mukham bhajantyananyaya bhaktya tan mrityoratiparaya. Someone. Mukham Anyaya Bhaktya Amrityoti Lokam Tatevamam Mataji's. Yadaya Pashavo Griha Sarvanam Yascha Mamevam Vishvato Mukham Imam, this lokam, world, tatha, accordingly, eva, certainly, amum, that world, atmanam, the subtle body, ubhaya, in both, ainam, traveling, atmanam, the body, anu, in relationship with, yea, those who, cha, also, iha, in this world, yea, that which, raya, wealth, pashavaha, cattle, griha, houses, visrijya, having given up, sarvan, all, anyan, other, cha, and, mam, me, evam, thus, Vishvatamukham, the all-pervading Lord of the universe. Bhajanti, they worship. Anyanyaya, unflinching. Bhaktya, by devotional service. Tan, them. Mrityo, of death. Atipadaye, I take to the other side. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Thus the devotee who worships me, the all-pervading Lord of the universe, in unflinching devotional service, gives up all aspirations to be promoted to heavenly planets or to become happy in this world with wealth, children, cattle, home, or anything in relation with the body. I take him to the other side of birth and death. Purport. Unflinching devotional service, as described in these two verses, means engaging oneself in full Kṛṣṇa consciousness or devotional service, accepting the Supreme Lord as all in all. Since the Supreme Lord is all-inclusive, if anyone worships Him with unflinching faith, he has automatically achieved all other opulences and performed all other duties. The Lord promises herein that He takes His devotee to the other side of birth and death. Lord Caitanya therefore recommended that one who aspires to go beyond birth and death should have no material possessions. This means that one should not try to be happy in this world or to be promoted to the heavenly world, nor should he try for material wealth, children, houses, or cattle. How liberation is imperceptibly achieved by a pure devotee and what the symptoms are have been explained. For the conditioned soul, there are two statuses of living. One status is in this present life, and the other is our preparation for the next life. If I am in the mode of goodness, then I may be preparing for promotion to the higher planets. If I am in the mode of passion, then I shall remain here in a society where activity is very prominent. And if I am in the mode of ignorance, I may be degraded to animal life or a lower grade of human life. But for a devotee, there is no concern for this life or the next life, because in any life, he does not desire elevation in material prosperity or a high grade or low grade life. He prays to the Lord, "My dear Lord, it does not matter where I am born, but let me be born even as an ant in the house of a devotee." A pure devotee does not pray to the Lord for liberation from this material bondage. Actually, the pure devotee never thinks that he is fit for liberation. Considering his past life and his mischievous activities, he thinks that he is fit to be sent to the lowest region of hell. If in this life I am trying to become a devotee, this does not mean that in my many past lives I was 100% pious. That is not possible. Devotee therefore is always conscious of his real position. Only by his full surrender to the Lord, by the Lord's grace, are his sufferings made shorter. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, "Surrender unto me and I will give you protection from all kinds of sinful reaction." That is His mercy. But this does not mean that one who has surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord has committed no misdeeds in his past life. A devotee always prays, "For my misdeeds may I be born again and again, but my only prayer is that I may not forget your service." The devotee has that much mental strength, and he prays to the Lord, "May I be born again and again, but let me be born in the home of your pure devotee, so that I may again get a chance to develop myself." A pure devotee is not anxious to elevate himself in his next birth. He has already given up that sort of hope. In any life in which one is born, as a householder, or even as an animal, one must have some children, some resources, or some possessions. But a devotee is not anxious to possess anything. He is satisfied with whatever is obtainable by God's grace. He is not at all attached to improving his social status or improving the status of education of his children. He is not neglectful, he is dutiful, but he does not spend too much time on the upliftment of temporary household or social life. He fully engages in the service of the Lord, and for other affairs, he simply spares as much time as absolutely necessary. Yatarham upayunjata. Such a pure devotee does not care for what is going to happen in the next life or in this life. He does not care even for family, children, or society. He fully engages in the service of the Lord in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that without the knowledge of the devotee, the Lord arranges for his devotee to be immediately transferred to his transcendental abode just after leaving his body. After quitting his body, he does not go into the womb of another mother. The ordinary common living entity after death is transferred to the womb of another mother. according to his karma or activities, to take another type of body. But as far as the devotee is concerned, he is at once transferred to the spiritual world in the association of the Lord. That is the Lord's special mercy. How is it possible? How it is possible is explained in the following verses. Because he is all-powerful, the Lord can do anything and everything. He can excuse all sinful reactions. He can immediately transfer a person to Vaikuntha Loka. That is his inconceivable power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is favorably disposed to the pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So Srila Prabhupada here beautifully explains the determination that a devotee has in their mind. That once they've taken up Krishna consciousness, no looking back, or no looking towards any material things, or no diversion. Once actually I was on Vrindavan Parikrama and I was walking, and as you can see, I'm quite tall. So I walk pretty fast. I got long legs, So I was walking on the Parikrama, and then there was this one old kind of Bengali man, and he just floated right past me. He just went straight past me. So I was thinking, how is he walking so fast? He's like half my height. He's double my age. And this guy just walked right past me. So I was like, I'm not taking that, So I started walking faster. And it was a mystical occurrence because I was walking faster and he was walking further and further away from me. So I was thinking, who is this person? Maybe he's somewhere a demigod or something. So I was praying, Kṛṣṇa, look back. Can you look back? Because I didn't see his face, because he just went past me. And anyway, he didn't look back. And he just kind of disappeared into the Vrindavan mist, And anyway, I carried on doing the parikrama. I was like, wow, who is that person, Anyway, at the end of the parikrama, I saw him. He was drinking one of these coconut, with a straw. He was So I came and then I saw him on the side. He had finished his parikrama. And then I looked at him and he looked at me and he started smiling. So maybe, I don't know, maybe he knew or something. So I was thinking, shall I go up and speak to him and find out who this person is? But anyway, I didn't. But it was interesting. My realization from that is that he was walking very fast because he wasn't looking back. There's no looking back. You meet these people in Vrindavan who have just come there and they just say, for the rest of my life, I just stay here now. I make a vow not to leave, and I live my final days here. And I just focus all my mind, all my energy, all my rest of the prana that I have, I just use it for Krishna. And this spirit is very, very beautiful. That once one comes to spiritual life, they should not look back or be diverted. Then one can move very, very fast. So when I was reading this verse, I thought it's incredibly appropriate for today because today is the anniversary of Srila Prabhupada taking sannyas. 65 years ago, on the morning of the 17th of September in Mathura, Keshavji Gaudiya Math, Srila Prabhupada formally entered the renounced order of life. And this verse so much reflects the mood of someone who makes that step, Srila Prabhupada's consciousness. Srila Prabhupada explains in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, there's one verse which is the mantra, the sannyas mantra. And that verse actually reflects this verse very, very much. That verse we know was sung by the Avanti Brahmana. And Prabhupada labeled this the sannyas mantra. Not Prabhupada, it's in our tradition. Even Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, when he took sannyas and he was walking away from his sannyas ceremony, then he was also reciting this verse. Etam sa asthaya paratmanishtam adhyasitam purvatamer maharshibi aham tarisyami durantaparam Tamo mukundangri nisevayeva. In this verse is explaining, the Avanti Brahmana is explaining that I will etam sa asthaya paratmanishtam. I will fix my mind completely in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just like my predecessors have done. Here is explaining, the devotee worships me with unflinching devotional service. So this asthaya paratmanishtam. And then in the last line of that sannyas mantra it said, Aham tarisyami durantaparam tamo mukundangri nisevayeva. That I will cross beyond the ocean, the insurmountable ocean of the world, material world, by being fixed in service. And that's basically echoed at the end of this verse where the Lord says, I take him to the other side of birth and death. So maybe it's Krishna's arrangement that this verse comes today because it so much reflects the mood of Srila Prabhupada as he entered into the renounced order of life. Srila Prabhupada explained that when he was a householder, he had many dreams. He had dreams in which Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur came to him, a tall sannyasi, effulgent. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was motioning to him, come and take sannyas, follow me, follow me. Prabhupada said, I had these dreams when I was a householder. He said it was horrific. In Prabhupada's own words, he said it was horrific. And then later on, Srila Prabhupada renounced his household life and Srila Prabhupada was living in Vrindavan. And then he explained in Vrindavan, he had the same dream again. He had the same dream and he woke up in that after that dream, the same dream where Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was telling him, take sannyas, take sannyas. So, but now he was realizing maybe this is the time. Anyway, I've renounced everything. This is very significant actually. Today is Vishvarup Mahotsav, which is the day that Vishvarup took sannyas, and it's explained in Caitanya Charitamrita that even after Vishvarup had taken sannyas, then he was actually coming in a dream to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And he was telling Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, come and take sannyas, come and take sannyas. So Mahaprabhu told his mother and father, Vishvarup is coming to me and telling me to take sannyas. And he said, but don't worry, I will get married, I will become a householder. Of course, eventually he did take sannyas. So it's very significant. Srila Prabhupada was being motioned in the same way. So then Prabhupada was in Vrindavan and he was thinking, it looks like it's Krishna's plan. Krishna wants me to walk away from everything, formally renounce the world, cut all my social ties, become socially dead. Sannyas signifies social death. There's even a part of the sannyas ceremony where you do your own shraddh. Now is the month of Shraddh, isn't it? It's coming now, right? So this is where people offer oblations to those who have departed. But the idea is when you take sannyas, is basically like death. You die. On that day, you die. So on that very day, your Shraddh is offered. Part of the ceremony. So Prabhupada was thinking, maybe this is the time now. So Prabhupada, he went to the Caitanya Math. Remember, by this time, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Gaudiya Math had become split. When Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur left, then basically the Gaudiya Math had split, broadly speaking, into two camps. One camp was the camp following Kunja Bihari. Kunja Bihari was considered like the most expert manager of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was previously a member of the Ramakrishna mission. And when he came into the Gaudiya Math, he basically organized everything for Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So he was very, very close, Kunja Bihari. Later on, he became a sannyasi, Bhaktivilas Tirtha Maharaj. And the other camp was Ananta Vasudev. Ananta Vasudev was also very close to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but he was more scholarly. He was known as like the as an incredibly accomplished in understanding Bhagavatam. In fact, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was once he said, if you want to learn Bhagavatam, go to Ananta Vasudev. He respected him so much, his own disciple, for his learning. So these two broad camps had formed after the departure of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. But if you remember, the headquarters of the Gaudiya Math was in Calcutta, Bagh Bazar. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had actually predicted that they would end up fighting over this temple. But eventually Bhaktivilas Tirtha Maharaj, he acquired this temple. And so his mission, known as the Caitanya Math, Srila Prabhupada, Abhay at that time, he still saw that as the headquarters of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's mission. And so when Prabhupada wanted to take sannyas, then he first went to the Caitanya Math. He first went to Bhaktivilas Tirtha Maharaj, and he said, it seems as though our spiritual master wants me to take sannyas, so what do you think of this idea? And he kind of was not so much encouraged by Bhaktivilas Tirtha Maharaj. He was said like, yes, come and join our math, be with us for some time, do some service, we will kind of observe you. And Srila Prabhupada, he wanted to print books, but they were not so supportive. So then Srila Prabhupada was not so encouraged. So then Srila Prabhupada was like, I don't think this is the right thing to do. Then Srila Prabhupada went to His Holiness Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Maharaj. And Keshava Maharaj, he told Prabhupada, you must do it. Do it now. And he encouraged him. He gave him all enthusiasm that now is the time. Now you should renounce and take up the mission. And so Srila Prabhupada was encouraged by that. And so then he decided, yes, I will take sannyas from him. So Srila Prabhupada, on that morning of the 17th of September, 1959, 65 years ago today, on that morning, Srila Prabhupada came to Keshavji Gaudiya Math. It was not a big affair. There were only a few people there. Hardly anyone knew anything was happening. Of course, Keshava Maharaj was there. His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, who was Keshava Maharaj's disciple, he was the priest for the ceremony. Akinchan Krishnadas Babaji, who was known as someone who was completely absorbed in the holy name of Kṛṣṇa, a great devotee, he was there with his mridanga and he was singing for the ceremony. And there was one other candidate in the sannyas ceremony, his name was Sanatan, he was 90 years old. And practically there were a few people. And no one could really understand how significant this event was. But it was very significant. And the ceremony went on. And at one point in the ceremony, Srila Prabhupada, Abhay, he was asked to speak. He didn't know that was going to happen. But Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Maharaj asked him to speak in the ceremony. Prabhupada looked around. There was only a few people there. And practically all of them were Hindi speakers. But Srila Prabhupada gave a lecture, and he gave the lecture in English. And that was very, very symbolic, because he was taking sannyas, and sannyas for him was an opportunity to preach all over the world, in the English-speaking world, and fulfill the order of his spiritual master. So Srila Prabhupada gave the lecture in English, and then they received their names. Sanatan became His Holiness Muni Maharaj, and Srila Prabhupada received the name Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada took sannyas, and in 1968, he was actually giving a lecture on the disappearance of Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Maharaj, who had left on the anniversary of his departure. And Srila Prabhupada was recounting this day where he took sannyas, and Srila Prabhupada became very emotional. He started crying. Prabhupada said, it was a horrific dream. I was thinking, why is my spiritual master telling me to turn away from everything? He said, but practically my spiritual master, he forced me. And then Prabhupada said, I thought I was giving up 3 children, but now I have 300 children. This was in 1968, Prabhupada said this. And Prabhupada very much appreciated this opportunity. So like this, we can see Srila Prabhupada accepted sannyas on this day. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains who is the real sannyasi. Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karotiya sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na cha kriya. Srila Prabhupada quotes this verse and he says, who is the real sannyasi? It's not an external change. The real sannyasi is the anashrita karma phalam, the one who has no more propensity or hope of enjoying anything in this world. The karma phalam, all the fruits of their activities, they fully dedicate to Kṛṣṇa. Such a person is actually a sannyasi. It's not an external change of dress, as Prabhupada would say. So here is explained that when one has this kind of determination, they don't desire to be promoted to the heavenly planets, and they don't try to enjoy this world by accumulating wealth or expanding their field of material activity. It's interesting, Srila Prabhupada took sannyas, and here it says that those who are fixed in determination, they don't desire to get promotion to the heavenly planet. Not only did Srila Prabhupada not desire promotion to the heavenly planets, it's almost like he went down to the lower planets. He went like in the complete opposite direction. It's interesting that Srila Prabhupada was always journeying into the unknown. Like, he was always ready to go anywhere for Krishna's service. He stepped onto the ship. He had no money. It was a journey into the unknown. Then Srila Prabhupada came to America, Butler, Pennsylvania, a journey into the unknown. But in Butler, Pennsylvania, it was not happening. So then he thought, I'll go to New York, a journey into the unknown. But then in New York, Prabhupada was in the Dr. Mishra's apartment, where all the high-class people were, and he was thinking, this is not the place. I have to go to the Lower East Side. So then he went there, to the Bowery, a journey into the unknown. It's very interesting how Prabhupada was always going into the unknown, always going into unknown territory, trying to see if there's a better way to serve Kṛṣṇa. No hesitation. So yes, Prabhupada was ready. Not only did he didn't want elevation to the heavenly planets, he was ready to go to the most hellish places in the world. One time someone asked Prabhupada in London, does Kṛṣṇa speak Bhagavad Gita on the hellish planets? Prabhupada said, London is hell. You don't need to know whether there's any other hellish planets where Kṛṣṇa speaks the Gita. This is hell. This is already hellish. It rains all the time, So Prabhupada was just willing to go anywhere, the Bowery, all these very, very difficult situations. And here it says that someone who's fixed in this determination, they have no desire for happiness by increasing their kind of material facilities. It's also interesting, sometimes people read these kind of things, these verses, and they kind of conclude that spiritual people become unambitious. Because like here it says, the devotee gives up all aspirations to become happy in this world with wealth, children, cattle, home, or anything in relationship with the body. So sometimes people are they're kind of like, if I get too spiritual, then I'm going to lose my ambition for everything. But it's actually the complete opposite, that the spiritualists, the devotees, are actually the most ambitious. Because they give up the lower ambitions. They give us the meager ambitions. Sukham hitucham, the Bhagavatam says, like, all of this is just minor, it's insignificant, it's tiny. They give up all of these material ambitions for a much bigger ambition. And so Srila Prabhupada was the ideal example. He gave up all these smaller ambitions to engage in a bigger ambition. Prabhupada said that, my disease is that I cannot think small, I only think big. It's in Srila Prabhupada's Memories series, someone is talking about how they were in Vrindavan and he went to Gurudas Prabhu and together they were discussing, and their plan was that we should try to acquire the Radha Damodar temple and the Raman Reti land that Srila Prabhupada had arranged. They said that we should do something small there, and what we should rather do is put all our energy into getting the Radha Damodar temple and developing that. So they went to Srila Prabhupada with this plan, and they suggested to Prabhupada, they said, Srila Prabhupada, why don't we just put all our energy into getting the Radha Damodar temple, developing that, and the Raman Reti land, we'll just do something small there. And Prabhupada wasn't impressed. He said, I don't do anything small. Everything has to be big. And he said, no, you develop that Raman Reti land. In the future, many, many thousands of people will come. So Prabhupada always was thinking big. Tribhuvanath Prabhu tells that story that once they were in a taxi in London and they were going past Buckingham Palace, and one of the devotees said, Prabhupada, Prabhupada, one of the Queen's guards has become a devotee. He was like really impressed. He said, Prabhupada, one of the Queen's guards has become a devotee. Prabhupada looked back at him and said, oh, and what about the Queen? And in that moment they realized, wow, Prabhupada is thinking on another level, you know, it's just like... It was interesting actually, when I flew into America, I flew into Chicago, so I flew into O'Hare Airport, and we know that famous story of how Prabhupada told Tripurari Maharaj that he should go to the airport authorities and tell them to change the name to Hare Kṛṣṇa Airport. But I was coming into that airport, it was interesting, and as I was landing, I was just on my iPad and I just opened Kripamoya Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada's disciple, his biography, and I just opened it to a random page. And it was very interesting. The random page that I opened it up to was him talking about his good wife, Mother Guru Charana Padma, and the whole page was all about her distributing books at O'Hare Airport. It was like amazing. I was flying it, just landing in that airport, and I just opened it to that random page, and then I was remembering this story by Prabhupada. So Prabhupada was always thinking big, ambitious, like anything. Bhagavat Prabhu tells the story of how they were in Mayapur and they were walking one time. This was in the very early days. And Prabhupada stopped and told them, you should buy all the land in Mayapur. Like, all the land in Mayapur, we don't know what to do with this land. Prabhupada said, you should buy all the land in Mayapur. And then Prabhupada said, you should apply to the Indian government for independence. And you should form the country of Mayapur. It's like, wow. And then he said to Bhagavat Prabhu, yes, you should form the country of Mayapur, and then every temple around the world will be an embassy of the country of Mayapur. And then Prabhupada said, and in our country of Mayapur we'll have our own currency, 2 Caitanyas, 5 Caitanyas, 10 Caitanyas. Interesting. So Prabhupada was so ambitious. So here, if anyone says, you know, oh, when you become spiritual, you give up everything, all your aspirations for everything. No, you give up lower aspirations for much higher aspirations. There's a difference between materially ambitious people and spiritually ambitious people. The first difference is that the goal of the materially ambitious person is completely selfish. But the goal of the spiritually ambitious is completely selfless. The the driver behind the materially ambitious person is that they have a vacuum in their heart. There's something missing, and therefore they're trying to achieve something in the world to fill that vacuum. But the driver behind the spiritually ambitious person is they're filled. They're coming from a place of abundance. They have so much they want to give, and therefore it's an outpouring of their kind of desire. The mentality of a materially ambitious person is that I'm the doer, I'm the controller, I'm going to achieve this. But the mentality of a spiritually ambitious person is that I'm an instrument, I'm insignificant. Srila Prabhupada said, Kṛṣṇa, I'm a puppet in your hands, and therefore, if you've brought me here to dance, then make me dance, make me dance, make me dance as you wish. The success of a materially ambitious person is that their success is in the result. But the success of a spiritually ambitious person is that their success is just in trying their best. Therefore, Prabhupada writes in his poem, now I have come, Kṛṣṇa, it's up to you to make me a success or failure as you wish. The devotee knows all I can do is try, all I can do is make the endeavor. And a materially ambitious person, they lose their culture, they lose their character in pursuance of success. Oftentimes we see for people to achieve their ambitions in this world, they degrade their character. But a spiritually ambitious person pursues their cherished aspirations, ambitions with such grace, with such good character. And therefore, the spiritual people are the most ambitious. The spiritual people are the ones who have the greatest aspirations. The spiritual people are those who can forge out the greatest achievements, because the goal, the mentality, the trigger behind why they're doing it, their measure of success, all of these things are completely different to a materially ambitious person. So here, it's a very, very beautiful verse. The devotee who worships me, the all-pervading Lord of the universe, in unflinching devotional service, gives up all aspirations to be promoted to heavenly planets, or to become happy in this world with wealth, children, cattle, home, or anything in relationship with the body. I take him to the other side of birth and death. Very, very appropriate verse today as we remember Srila Prabhupada, who, for the benefit of the whole world, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu says, he gave up the small world of family life in order to embrace the whole world as his family. So on this day, 65 years ago, Srila Prabhupada made that great sacrifice, and all of us are deeply benefiting. And so on this day, we remember and thank Srila Prabhupada for doing what he did, because it's brought so much meaning to our lives. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If anyone has any questions or comments, happy to request. Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the class. You were discussing a little bit last evening about the fear of failure, and now we're discussing how ambitious Srila Prabhupada was, and how certainly there's so much opportunity for failure. Can you maybe just discuss a little bit more about how we can overcome that fear of starting something ambitious?
Yeah. Well, Srila Prabhupada said that famous statement, shoot for the rhinoceros, right? Because he said to Shyam Sundar Prabhu that if you shoot for the rhino, if you chase the rhino and you fail, then everyone will say, anyway, it was never possible. You couldn't do it anyway. Oh, no problem. But if you get it, then wow. So that's such a beautiful, beautiful way to look at life. Nelson Mandela, he says, let your decisions in life reflect your dreams and not your fears. So much time, if we look at the decisions that we make in our life, is because we're fearful. One time my own spiritual master, he said to me, the problem with you is you're always worried about what could go wrong. Why don't you start getting excited about what could go right? That's very interesting. It's just that shift of... Sometimes I give this example that when you come up in front of an audience to speak, then there's a certain energy that goes through the body. Now the interesting thing is that as that energy goes through your body, if you're meditating on what could go wrong, then you'll turn up in front of the mic extremely nervous. But when that energy goes through your body, if you come and you're meditating on how you can serve people, what amazing contribution you could make, how you could actually use this opportunity to do something beautiful, then what happens is you end up in front of the mic excited. The interesting thing is that nervousness and excitement is exactly the same energy. It's just energy which is processed in a different way. And so the great devotees, they know, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno, Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara, Tatra Shir Vijayo Bhutir Dhruvanitir Matir Mama. If I try to do something, if I do it with all sincerity, and if I do it with a genuine desire to try and serve Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa will back me up. There's the beautiful video where Shyam Sundar Prabhu talks about this, and he said, Prabhupada told us, if you take a risk for Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa has to come. He said, we tested it to the max. And then he tells this beautiful story about how they were in Berry Place and they didn't know how they were going to pay the bills. And then they walked down one day and he said there were just dollar bills flying in the air. Not dollar bills, it was London. So it was pound bills flying in the air, notes. He goes, we looked around, there was no one on the street. And this money was just flying. And he said, we caught hold of the money. We paid the rent. He said it got to the point where we expected things like this to happen. And then he says in that interview, but maybe we've lost some of that spirit. Maybe we've become comfortable. And he said, Prabhupada told us, if you take a risk for Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa has to help you. So it's just about adjusting that mentality. Are we going to constantly be afraid of what could go wrong, or are we going to get excited about what could go right? And ultimately, what does it mean that it will go right? Because it's already a success. If you try your best, like we were mentioning yesterday, that's all you can do. So if you put the best of your intention and attention into something, it's already a success. And how do we even know what success is? It's interesting, the devotees, they went to London and they did one program. So Akandadi Prabhu, disciple of Srila Prabhupada, he talks about this. They did a program, it was actually in my hometown, and they hired out this huge hall. Anyway, they did the advertisement, everything, They turned up and there were about 3 people there, 3 guests. They were like, oh my God, this is like a maha flop, you know, like, I mean, this is just like depressing. And they thought, anyway, we better just do the program. So they did it. And the interesting thing is, those 3 devotees, one of them became Atmanivedan Swami, who's a sannyasi still in our movement. One of them became Shriti Dharma Prabhu, who was the temple president of the Manor and served at the Manor for 45 years. And the other one became Pranabandhu Prabhu, who's like the biggest fundraiser at the Manor, still serving there for nearly 50 years. It's like, okay, maybe we can't measure success, you know, it's like, it's hard to know. We don't know, like, how is Kṛṣṇa? Even Prabhupada, later on when he reflected on his mission, there's this famous lecture where he said, who knew that I would come to America? No, he said, who knew that I would come to the shelter of my spiritual master? Who knew that I would come to America? Who knew that all of you would come to me? Who knew that this Krishna consciousness movement would spread in this way? Prabhupada said, these are all Krishna's arrangements. We have no idea how it's all going on. So you just got to be in the game. Yes.
I want to thank you from my heart for your very thoughtful presentations yesterday and today.
Thank you.
On this subject, in Kali Yuga, we like to be glorified from the idea stage. I have an idea, I go to my temple president or my wife or whoever, and I want to be glorified at the idea stage. I don't want to put in the work. I just want to be glorified. Prabhupada was just the opposite. He had the ideas, but he was willing to put in the work. It's not that he just went to be Keshava Maharaj or anybody else in the Gaudiya Math and said, here's my idea, and then waited for them to execute it.
Yeah.
He had the ideas, they wouldn't support him, he went and put in the work, the hard work.
Yeah.
He said, I came to America with oatmeal and a little, whatever, just a little bit of, because I didn't know what was there. Could I find nice sabji, could I find whatever? He was willing to take the risk and put in the hard work. Nowadays, we don't want to put in the work. We just want to have an idea, tell somebody else, and they should execute it. And then glorify me for giving them the idea.
Yeah, you have to, Srila Prabhupada was willing to just go, like we said, journey into the unknown, put himself into difficult situations and really make that sacrifice. Yeah, thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj, for such an inspiring class. Wanted to ask how we can protect our hearts and our energies and create boundaries. I remember you speaking one time about people who are most kind and most giving. The most valuable thing that they have is that they set boundaries for themselves, because there's always people that will be against you or will not be supportive of you.
Yeah, we can't take the world to a higher place than what we've reached internally ourselves. So the devotee is constantly investing in themselves. It's interesting, Srila Prabhupada knew he had to go to America. And by 1959, he was already 63 years old. I mean, time was ticking. But it's very, very interesting that Prabhupada still decided to spend 6 years at Radha Damodar. It's kind of like, if your mission is to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, you're 63, you know, someone could already begin thinking like, my time is running out here. But Prabhupada decided to spend 6 years at Radha Damodar. There he prayed, there he studied, there he meditated. There we know those famous stories of how in the middle of the night he was sweeping in front of Rupa Goswami's samadhi, crying out, "Oh Rupa, how will I fulfill the order of my spiritual master? You please give me your mercy." This famous story that Hridayananda Babaji narrates of how he heard Srila Prabhupada wailing, crying in the courtyard, praying for mercy. So definitely the devotee who invests in themselves, they emerge in the world and are able to give more. Therefore, this is the rhythm of life. You breathe out and then you breathe in. You breathe out and you breathe in. If someone at some point thinks, I've breathed in enough, I should just breathe out now, well, good luck. You're going to be pretty finito. So the devotee is always... but the interesting thing is that what happens at a very dynamic stage of one's spiritual life is that their giving becomes receiving. This is very, very mystical. That in the beginning, what we have to do is we have to nourish ourselves, we have to take time, we have to... But when one becomes very, very advanced, you look at Srila Prabhupada's life and he was just giving. But when he was giving, he was also receiving. Because in the dynamic stage of spiritual life, these two things come together. Therefore, for example, Prabhupada was writing all of these purports for the benefit of the world, giving. But what did he say his purports were? His ecstasies. So Prabhupada, while writing these purports, he's giving, he's serving, he's contributing, and at the same time he's relishing, he's feeling the ecstasy, he's being nourished. The two come together. So until we reach that very dynamic stage of spiritual life where the internal and the external seamlessly integrate, we need to ensure that we have enough time, good sadhana. Srila Prabhupada writes in a letter that don't take up something so difficult and then you're constantly in anxiety and then you lose your spiritual status. You know this letter? It's a famous letter. So Prabhupada says, not that you should lose your spiritual status by dint of just taking something on that's too difficult. So like this we have to balance.
There was something that Prabhupada also said, that you should take on a service which is challenging, which forces you to take shelter of Kṛṣṇa.
Yeah. When people come into the ashram, then we arrange their service by ensuring that there are three things. There should be service that they're inspired by, there should be service that is needed, and there should be service that is difficult. Because each one of those services give you a different ingredient. The service you do that inspires you gives you strength. The service that you do that's just the need of the day gives you mercy, because you put all your agenda to one side. And the service which is difficult forces you to connect with Kṛṣṇa and pray. But if you only do one of those, like if your constant service is just to do what's the needful, then after some time someone will feel like maybe not inspired. And if we only do the service which we like, then it's okay, you like it, but where's the spirit of sacrifice? You miss out on that. So we need to incorporate, and you see, if you see how Prabhupada engaged devotees, Prabhupada was amazing, incredible. He just knew the right balance of what to give people and how. So, like that. Yes?
Thank you, Maharaj. So, just follow-up question. So, you said that there should be a time where you can, you talked about the seamless internal and external, right? Question is, how do we know that we are there yet?
There are signs when you are imbalanced and your endeavors to achieve something are becoming over-endeavor. There are signs, you will know. For example, how do you know that you're over-endeavoring? Number one, your physical and mental health will go down. Number two, your relationships will be affected. Number three, your spiritual sadhana and your connection in spiritual practices will be affected. Those are like classic signs that I'm trying to give a lot here, but I think it's kind of getting a bit imbalanced. But when one is giving, and spiritually they feel more connected to their practices, their relationships are good, their physical, their mental health, their sense of balance, their poise is not affected, and in fact they get energized, then you can understand. So it takes time to get there. But sometimes we feel that, no? Like when you do a service, it almost feels like, I think I got more benefit from that service than the people who I served. We feel that sometimes, no? This is like Caitanya Mahaprabhu's everything, like Mahaprabhu came for an internal and an external purpose. The internal was to relish Radharani's love, and the external was to give Harinam. So now if you look in Mahaprabhu's activities, it all integrates. Like say for example, Rath Yatra. So in Rath Yatra, Mahaprabhu is preaching like to the whole of India, because everyone comes for Puri Rath Yatra. So he like in one go, he spreads the holy name in the whole of India. But at the same time, he's in front of the Rath Yatra cart, and who's he remembering? Kṛṣṇa, who's at Kurukshetra, and Radharani, who's trying to drag Kṛṣṇa back to Vrindavan. So it's like right there, boom, in that moment, he's doing his internal and his external. Like So it's very interesting. This is how our spiritual life should progress. Is that okay? All right. Okay, I think we can end here unless anyone has anything. Okay, I think we finish here. Thank you so much. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Kṛṣṇa, we have some of Marge's books available at the back there. If anyone